Cities can be destroyed. There is also the project money that Lao Tzu did not get. Jin Xiuhui finally found a reason to convince himself. Shout a small bell. Let's go back. I'm going to make him a sashimi and eat him raw. Bastard lobster. The giant bell uses the volcano eruption skill. Rush to the battlefield with Jin Xiuhui. Like a cruise missile crossing the sea. Stir up a row of choppy waves. Fighting in the city is still raging. Haver has already attacked the Great Titans. Several places. But he never found his weakness. This time he tried to attack him in the eye with a blast slash. The blade slashed into the eye, sending out a spark. But there was no harm in the eyes. Then, the Great Titan wields tentacles like long whips. Hurried Haver in midair. It's Enha. When Four was about to receive a fatal blow. Gigantic little Hama, curled up into a yellow ball, slammed at the cheeks of the Great Titan. It seems that Hama Jr. has a soft spot for cheek attacks. I think that's how Jin Xiuhui came at the beginning. Little Hama hit a meat bullet with all his might. In midair, I couldn't help but spray water. Then returned to its original size. The wilted brain fell on the top of Jin Xiuhui's head. I saw Jin Xiuhui's eyes showing a fierce light. Viciously said smash. How dare you stand in the way of my wealth? Lao Tzu will kill you. If there is such a big, hairy child. You live as a chess piece. When you run, you're as fast as you fly. The soft fur is like a sponge pad. Riding on it comfortably does not want to come down. Do you want such a round, hairy child? Haver slashes with a blast. Attacked many positions of the Great Titan. But his weakness was still nowhere to be found, although he didn't see any odds of winning. But now he feels relieved, because Master Lloyd is back. It means that there is a way to win. The screen goes back to 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago. The gigantic little Budong, carrying Jin Xiuhui to the vicinity of the battlefield. And there was no rush to join the fight. Face the most formidable opponent in your life. Jin Xiuhui chose to plan and act. Find out the details of your opponent first. Xiao Bodong followed Jin Xiuhui's request. Run fast around the battlefield. Jin Xiuhui wants to find out the weaknesses of the excellent Titan. He saw Haver's blasting. Palm does not work at all. Strange what the shell of the Great Titan is made of. Suddenly, he had an idea. Then quickly turn on the measurement skills. A perspective view of the excellent Titan presents his eyes. Jin Xiuhui secretly liked his cleverness. After all, living things are also substances, so it can also be analyzed with measurements. Measurements show chitin mixed with denin, and it's a meter thick. Blanket from the molecular level. Resembles a 3-layer honeycomb superimposed structure, and it is solid and condensed together. It is simply the most cutting-edge body armor in modern times. When Haver's blasting, Jantan when he is on the Great Titan, Ding Xiuhui saw through perspective. This energy is gathered into the Great Titan. Unicorn overhead. Utilize the angular distance and energy of the hollow, and then release it again. This horn is too dangerous. You have to get out first. Then use the simulation mode. Build a model of the best Titan. Internal organs and false warping. The thickness is built according to a certain proportion. In the middle of his abdomen, there is a banded vesicle. It was the water pouch he used to hydrate his attacks. Just aim there from this angle for blasting. Can beat that guy to pieces. The picture returns to the present battlefield. Haver yelled at Jin Xiuhui. What should I do? Jin Xiuhui made a one-pillar Optimus gesture. Then, another gesture was made to cut off the stick. Haver was completely blindsided. I thought to myself, young master, is this going to cultivate the sunflower treasure book? Then he shouted angrily, young master, you are insane. It's okay to be ugly. Don't give up on yourself. Jin Xiuhui roared loudly. I'll have you cut off his feet. Just Haver was in doubt. The huge AO pincer struck again. Haver jumped out of the way to dodge the attack. Hard. Although I don't understand why I cut off that foot. But he decisively believed in Roy's young master. because the young master will not say irresponsible things. When Haver jumped on top of the Giga Titan, feet running at full speed to the top of his head, Jin Xiuhui warned Haver loudly. Although that's hollow feet, but it doesn't always work to thump with the magic ring. Cut him off, and you're going to weaken it a little. Quickly slash the same position multiple times. Haver did as Jin Xiuhui requested. Come to the corner. Slash down with a blast slash. Then, it is common for the magic rings in the body to collide frequently. Keep doing high-frequency vibrations at the incision. A lot of sparks burst out at the touch points. It's like a full-power chainsaw cutting through a steel pipe. Jin Xiuhui clenched his fists excitedly. He didn't expect it to be possible. It turned out that he himself didn't know if it would work. Because of this ability to use your hands at high speeds, if you don't have a single 30-year foundation, you can't use it. The incision is visibly getting bigger and bigger. The Rush Plus Titan finally felt the pain, raised the huge pincer, and smashed it at Haver. Jin Xiuhui yelled at this time and did not move. The gigantic little immobility jumps quickly. Block AO dive attacks. Haver seized the opportunity to learn about it. Hurry up and cut with all your might. After unremitting efforts, the foot was finally cut off. In the agony of the great Titan, the broken foot fell to the ground with a bang. Jin Xiuhui then shouted Haver. Go to the middle of his legs. From the angle between his ass and his head. Attack Haver with a blast press. Follow the instructions of the young master. Come to the designated location under the body of the Giga Titan. Jin Xiuhui shouted loudly. Right there. Demolition. Kill him. Haver lifted common. I'm going to give him a cold drink. But something unexpected happened. The entire body of the Giga Titan. It's like free fall. Focus on smashing down. The speed of the fall is too fast. Haver couldn't react at all. Boom. The entire body of the Urgency Titan slammed into the ground. Wait for the smoke to clear. Rock Rescue is connected to the ground. The whole fragment was dented. Haver's accessories lay silently on the ground. However, Jin Xiuhui's sight. There is no Haver anymore. Keep an eye out for this round, hairy child. When the two male protagonists were both desperate, with a nice super long jump, turn a mortal situation around. It's really the big brother of the triple gang. Just in the rush to add Titan. When the whole body is smashed down, Haver knew he couldn't run. Compared to the huge body of the great Titan, I am so small. I can't run out of my body at all. Haver severed his hands with all his might. The miscellaneous pieces are all gone. The moment of the moment. Xiao Budong was a round figure. Quickly pounced on Haver, who was ready to fight desperately. Precise bite of Haver's clothes. Lifted him up. A longitudinal leap. Jumped out of the range of the great Titan's body. Haver's small body. It's not easy to handle in front of our big Pudong. Jin Xiuhui saw Haver's slippers. Finally breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Budong frowned and shook his hands. Knock knock and knock shouted Haver. It's a pity that Haver is not Jin Xiuhui, and he doesn't understand it at all. Haver said sorry apologetically. I don't understand what you're saying. But most of the time, it was criticized for being too reckless. Don't worry, I'll hold out until I defeat it. He's so far. Because I believe that the young master's plan will succeed. Jin Xiuhui didn't expect it. The gigantic body of the great Titan. It's so agile. And he has a strong sense of protection against his weaknesses. It seems that he wants to attack his weakness easily. It's impossible. Find a way to create opportunities to attack weaknesses. Jin Xiuhui suddenly shouted Xiao Budong. Little Budong heard the call. The huge body turned and jumped. I came to the roof of the third floor. Jin Xiuhui turned over and got on the horse. Let little Budong take him to the place just now. Before leaving, he said Haver to Haver. That guy has seen you as the biggest threat. You lead him to the woods behind the East Coast. It turns out that the refinement has been done in advance. The screen goes back 15 minutes ago. The Count looked at the great Titans that were mad and wreaking havoc on the city. Fell into deep self-blame. The bronze statue of the mermaid built not only failed to drive away the monsters. Instead, it attracted the revenge of the monster. Then, Jin Xiuhui rode a small bell to the Earl. Sincerely, the Earl. The mermaid statue was a key item. The monster must have fought to the death against the bronze statue. We'll run to land. This sea beast, if it is always in the water, there is no way we can defeat him. Now that he is on land, his strength will be much weaker. We need to seize this opportunity to get rid of him. This is the best chance to eradicate the aftermath. Haver, and I will try to give you as much time as possible. You have to put the broken bronze statue back together as quickly as possible. It will be of great use later. After explaining this, Jin Xiuhui rode a small bell and immediately rushed to the battlefield. The picture goes back to the present. Haver attracts the attention of the great titans. Ran towards the place, Jin Xiuhui said. Dodge the attacks of the best titans behind you at all times. The physical strength is close to the limit. I can't hold on any longer. But when Haver remembered the city to live, when the safety of the people is all anxious for him, he relied on a tenacious will, desperately squeezing out the almost dry physical strength. Continue to run towards your destination. Giga Titan is also reluctant to catch up behind him. Jin Xiuhui's call came from afar. Haver was shocked by what he saw. I saw the original broken mermaid statue. At this point, they are spliced together and placed on a wooden cart. Xiao Buodong struggled to pull the wooden cart and come back head-on. Giga Titan, after seeing the mermaid statue, a flame of hatred welled up in his eyes, raised to the sky and roared loudly in anger. This moment of him, the existence of Haver has been forgotten. Jin Xiuhui just wanted to make him angry. As long as the sanity of the Giga Titan is controlled by emotions, then no matter how high his intelligence is, there will also be omissions. The moment when the two of them were caught off, Jin Xiuhui shouted, I will create a chance for you. You seize the opportunity to attack his weakness. Haver grumbled, Can you make your plan clear next time? Jin Xiuhui said impatiently, Do you wish there would be a next time for this kind of thing? Xiao Buodong is a cute little baby. Today he is a donkey and a horse. Pull the mermaid statue to the great titan. Keep scratching your head and posing. This wave of hatred is full of hatred. The titan rushed over like crazy, scared the hairy boy, and was about to swing the chicken. Run as hard as you can. I always felt that 4 legs were not enough. Haver became a shadow assassin in this matter. The body is close to the ground. Quickly dashed directly below the great titan. Fast as a phantom, completely evaded the attention of the great titan. Then he kicked the ground and flew up. Do your best to use a blasting skill. The flaming sword stabbed out. After inserting into the narrow gap between the plates. Booming explosion. Jin Xiuhui glanced back. I suddenly felt bad. The monster's body doesn't look like a simulation. Broken in the skill? Guess something must have gone wrong. Haver at the time of the fall, desperately looking at the battle monster in front of him. It's just that the belly shell is shattered. It didn't hurt the internal organs. He believed that the young master's judgment would not be wrong. Then you must be too weak. If only I hadn't blasted so many times before. If you save some energy, it won't be like this. This fragile thought had just popped up a little bit. Endless remorse poured in like a flood. Haver was about to be overwhelmed. If this time, Haver's self-confidence collapsed, then even if he can survive this disaster, his weapons will stop there. I can't move an inch anymore. That's when it happened. Jin Xiuhui's voice came and did it beautifully. Haver, you actually broke his shell. I'll take care of the rest. What makes a good teammate? It can give you affirmative encouragement in the midst of despair. I can give you my back decisively. It can also support you in times of crisis. That's a good teammate you can trust. Haver's confidence was saved by this affirmative remark. I saw Xiao Buodong's fat body, carrying Jin Xiuhui. Like an indomitable war horse, it is galloping. Jin Xiuhui is like a knight of 100 battles. Hold the shovel in your hand. Breathlessness is firmly locked. Urgently add the Titan's exposed water storage bag. What kind of reason? Let a money-greedy bastard be evil. Use suicidal means. Die with a powerful opponent. Haver was physically exhausted. Consciousness gradually becomes blurred. The battle is not over. But he was very relieved, because the young master said that the rest would be left to him. Little Hama catches Haver just in time. Although Jin Xiuhui boasted of Haikao guarding the city, but he was well aware. Doesn't kill the guardian of the Great Titan. I was going to upgrade the Aslahan Star Law to 3 rings. This allows you to use the demolition skill. There is also the power of a war. On the way to the battlefield, he invests all RP upgrades. Still stuck at the last level because the RP value is not enough. Cannot possess 3 rings of mana stars. The Great Titan must die, because as long as he lives, there will definitely be a crazy revenge on the city. Little Budong has reached his limit. You can't be cruel to him anymore. All the questions come together. There is no way but to try to apply. Jin Xiuhui shouted Xiao Budong. Little Budong heard the call. Suddenly, there was a sudden braking. With this forward inertia, lift your hind leg firmly up. Jin Xiuhui's whole person was thrown upward. Straight ahead, excellent Titan exposed water storage bag. Ding Xiuhui flew to the position of the water storage bag. Grab the broken carapace. Hang your entire body in midair. Look at the musculature in front of you. He felt at a loss where to start. Haber took one last look before he fell unconscious. Master. The obsession of fighting desperately in midair moved him. Although I don't know the young master's follow-up plans. But the young master promised to others. Always be responsible to the end. Never give up. Immediately, he fainted unconscious. At this time, the system suddenly prompts. Haber's opinion of you has increased by 4 points. The current favorability of you is positive. Currently holds 391. 2 horses of Azrahan New Law. The conditions for the upgrade have been met. Jin Xiuhui bit his shovel and stared at the system panel. It's called a cool one in my heart. It was like being constipated for 7 days. Finally pulled 10 pounds happily. Then Haber came to mind. You're a stuffy guy. Lao Tzu loves you to death. I'll add chicken thighs to you when I get back. Then upgrade your skills without hesitation. The outside of the heart is at a speed visible to the naked eye. A 3rd rotating ring is formed. In an instant, Aslahan Star Law became. 500% increase in mana in the first episode of the 3 rings. Jin Xiuhui grabbed the false warp in his right hand. Hold the shovel tightly in your left hand. Smash you with a yell. You're done. The lexicon of the Great Titan is not low. A strong sense of crisis came from his abdomen, which frightened him. It's the position of a tiny human being. He couldn't attack. Agitated, he went crazy, destroying the surroundings. The intact mountain was broken into pieces and scattered in all directions. Jin Xiuhui wielded a shovel at the same time. Silently recite the steps of the demolition skill in your mind. Protect the heart with a ring, then collide with the remaining 2 rings. Just when Jin Xiuhui thought that the overall situation had been decided, a shard of rock the size of a head flew in. Coincidentally, it hit him in the temple. Blood flowed uncontrollably. In an instant, the world spun around in front of me. Grasp the hand of the false warp. Subconsciously let go when you see the success and failure. Persistent faith told him. The hope of all is based on the last blow of his life. Must be completed. The steps of the blasting skill in my mind are confused. How many rings are struck? Refined how is in a state of confusion. Mistakenly colliding 3 rings together at the same time. The heart is unprotected from the impact of energy. But at the same time, he used a powerful skill that never appeared before. Triple demolition attack. The flaming shovel was plunged into the water storage bomb. After the seawater in the water storage bag meets the flames, a large amount of water vapor is formed. The atmospheric pressure inside the water storage bag increases instantly. This terrifying internal pressure instantly exceeds the tolerance of the musculature. Booming explosion. The point at which the explosion was released. It produces a fantastic rainbow. Chi Family Titan has such a hard body. Attack in triple blasting. And barometric explosion. Shattered bones by attack. When the smoke and dust gradually clear. The fragmented body of the great Titan. The body is scattered all over the place. The raging world finally ushered in the long-lost tranquility. I don't know how long it took. An anxious call came from Haver. He struggled to open his tired eyes, accompanied by bouts of vertigo. It was finally back in his body. The three babies were anxiously pulling him at this time. Haver, encouraged to brace his tired body, quickly took a look at the situation on the battlefield. He was finally relieved to see the wreckage of the great Titan. Little Budong was about to cry anxiously. Pulling Haver with a finger, he shouted at Dong Bo Dong. Haver couldn't understand it, but he could guess something. Dragging a tired body, follow the three anxious babies. After turning a call, he was shocked to find three babies. Reasons for anxiety. I saw that Jin Xiuhui was full of evil. The eyes are glazed. The body lay motionless on the ground. Haver hurriedly shouted to the young master as he ran. Young Master Lloyd came to the front and back. Quickly checked the condition of the fine repair hoe. Haver's eyes grew remorseful. Master Lloyd's heart stopped. It's all my fault. This poor couple. Lunch for the beast on the verge of becoming. Their adopted child descended like a god. Smashed all the beasts. But why are the child's eyes so sad? It's because the beautiful queen looks forward to it day and night. Wait for him. The sound of wings' agitation sounded outside the window. A white carrier pigeon stopped outside the Baron's window. The letter was sent by Count Kramer. The letter will build a statue of Lloyd. Defeat Mrs. Great. The story of saving the people is clearly stated, and informed Lloyd of his eerie coma. Finally, I would like to thank the Baron in person. After reading the contents of the letter, the Baron read. It's too late to explain anything. He wrote out in desperation. Make a beeline for the earldom of Cremo. The Baron's restless mood is visible. The Baron had only been on his way for a long time. Behind him, the Baroness and Byron followed, and brought the Baron the necessary equipment for the long journey. Although the Baron asked the lady to go back and wait. But how can a mother endure this torment? After some arguments, the three of them went to Kramer together. On long rides, the Baron was in a hurry from the beginning, slowly becomes softening. Forthwith, remembering Lloyd's dramatic changes in recent times, as well as calling himself a Baron every time. Compared to before, it is like two people. He couldn't believe it. Lloyd was still not his son. For a quick arrival in Cremo, the trio chose the unsafe progress. This day, suddenly blocked by a hungry monster. Worship people dismount and stop the monster. Let the Baron and lady go first. The hungry monster pounced fiercely. A single sweep of the claw interrupts the common worship. Then he pounced and bit Byron on the shoulder. Byron pulled a dagger from his waist and stabbed the monster. Although the monster was stabbed, it didn't understand it at all. Just pressed Byron to bite. At this critical moment, the Count pierced the monster's waist with a sword. Madame stabbed the monster in the eye with a sword. The monster struggled for a while, but then didn't move. Just when the three of them thought they were going through it, a group of monsters appeared in front of them. Byron held the sword in their remaining right hand. Be brave enough to stand in front of the monsters. The hungry monster horde frantically pounced on the three prey. Just when the three of them thought they were going to die, a fur jumped from a high treetop and landed. Draw your sword and arrow ahead. Arrow after head. Easily solved all the monsters. Among the monster corpses all over the ground. His eyes were sad and he walked towards the three of them. But a rage shocked Byron. He knowing that Haver's swordsmanship and magic far surpassed him. But when Haver and the young master went to Krino, surely not to this extent. What makes Haver grow so fast? The Baron and Madame meet Haver, nervously asked about Lloyd. Haver was silent for a moment, begin to tell the story of what it was like when Haver discovers the young master's heart. Stopped beating, heartbroken thoughts. If you just disappear like that, what about our territory? I finally met my new home. This is after Harvra became an adult, the most grief-stricken one. As a swordsman, he has a strong and confident heart. But now this heart is about to lose its home. In extreme despair, suddenly, he found a glimmer of light. The pulse in the young master's wrist was actually beating. Haber then went on to identify the carotid artery in depth. Then I thought curiously, obviously, the heart has stopped beating. Why does he still have a pulse? Although faintly, but he was still breathing. When he looked at it carefully, after Kim Xiuhui's heart, the heart is surrounded by 3 rings, and it's still spinning rapidly. The magnetic field created by the rotating magic ring makes Haver unable to see the state of his heart. But one thing is certain, powerful magic spins. In place of the heart, he was kept alive. Haver analyzes and scrutinizes. I guess that the young master must have used a triple blast, only to beat the excellent titans to pieces. The deformity of 4 people who traveled day and night. This day, finally came the dilapidated Cremo. Haver said to the trio, "The young master is recuperating in the Earl's fooding." The Baron looked at the city as if it were in ruins. I lamented the monster that created this disaster. Unexpectedly, was it you and Lloyd who defeated you? Haver didn't turn around, but decisively corrected the Baron's words. No, I'm just Lloyd. The sword wielded by the young master in his hand was all based on Luo, the power of Master Ed. The monster was just dealt with. This sentence shocked the Baron and the lady, because they know that Haver never tells lies. They could not have imagined that Lloyd would have such an ability. Walk on the road. Residents can be heard talking everywhere. Almost all of them are thanks to Jin Xiuhui for saving his life. He rescued a man who had fallen overboard in the icy waters. Let the little bell eat the wreckage of the building and rescue the wounded. Let little Hama spray water to extinguish the raging flames. Outside the Earl's court at this time, occupied with the inhabitants who rushed in, they prayed from the bottom of their hearts. Hopefully he'll wake up safe and sound. But there is always a part of the nasty people, in order to gain popularity and show their wisdom, deliberately distorting facts to provoke opposing rhetoric, commonly known as trolls. Behind the crowd, suddenly remembered a discordant voice. Are you all stunned? If it weren't for that man who became the lord of the bronze statue, how could a monster attack a city? This incident is all to blame on that guy. Things gather like, and people are grouped. There will definitely be a part of the stupidity that will follow the trend. But in the end, it will be suppressed by wise people. With a burst of strength, a powerful heartbeat sounded. The interior of Kim Xiuhui's heart finally formed the heart of magic. Jin Xiuhui has just woken up. A series of system prompts rang in my ears. Your sacrifice and courage. Kramer's mission was deeply touched. Luxurious rewards based on your contributions. Click here for details. Jin Xiuhui held his forehead and encouraged him to start. Say to the system, I remember myself like a fool. Use a triple blast. Am I still alive now? The system jokingly replied that you are probably alive. If you don't breathe, you probably won't even be able to dream. Jin Xiuhui then asked me how I survived. My heart should have been blown to pieces. In the face of Jin Xiuhui, it is a matter of life and death. Curious about the system not responsible for letting him wait. Then reminded Jin Xiuhui that there was something more important. The system really knows Jin Xiuhui too well. It doesn't matter if you live or die. He is more focused on rewards. Haver pushed the door open and entered the room, shocked to find that the young master had woken up. Kim Xiuhui's first words to Haver were, Haver, when they will pay for the project. Haver was really speechless. But this is the normal performance of the young master. At this moment, the voices of the Baron and the lady rang out. The two of them rushed to the scene with tears in their eyes. Let Jin Xiuhui experience a wave of deep love from his parents. This moment, it doesn't matter if Lloyd is their son. As long as he is alive, thank goodness. At this moment in the national capital of Macenta, the king is listening to the ministers, paraphrasing the letter of the Count of Crino. The letter tells about the deeds of Kim Xiuhui and Haver. This made the king take a keen interest in the two. It was decided to send an envoy to bring them together. King Elahika wants to confirm it himself. The letter tells the truth of the matter. Men are the most dedicated animals in the world. Not one of them. The summer solstice is still for 3-year-old children. Octogenarian man. They all like young, beautiful, and well-figured girls. This belief runs through a man's life. But this man is very deviant. Jin Xiuhui was alone in the carriage looking at the system box. Watch a large section of praise and praise. Jin Xiuhui's face was cold and completely uninterested. The system knows too well this guy, who is in the eye of the money. Then a large number of rewards are given. 1,500.2 horses are awarded. Jin Xiuhui is like a stimulant. I almost jumped up with joy. Clearly reflects the dog with a leash 1,000. The truth of man's money bolt. Then read the skill information. Skill heart of mana. The heart stores a high density of mana. Jin Xiuhui then understood the reason why the body is more powerful than before. Turns out he has a magical heart too. Your heart of magic is formed by blasting impact. So, your heart of magic is endowed with unique characteristics. Jin Xiuhui was curious about what unique characteristics it would have. Exclusive configuration to counteract shocks. Even without protection, it can also counteract the impact on its own. Jin Xiuhui was shocked by this skill. In other words, you can use triple blasting casually. Later, it was more convenient to quarry and dig holes. The system was shocked by Jin Xiuhui's clever idea. The system continues to explain. Normally, the magic power of the heart of magic is cultivated by itself. Magic ring. It is the external magic absorbed by the Aslahan star method. The two types of magic run from essentially different sources. Use the blast skill. It's like igniting a gunpowder spectrum. So use blasting. Skills need to protect the magic star. But when you use triple blasting, there are no magic stars in battle. After you unleash the power of the explosion. Aslahan Remains. The origin power of the 3 rings of the star law. Occupy the fusion in this empty room inside the heart. You've been in a coma for a month. It's because the magic star is being formed. Now your magic star. It is the same source of magic as the magic ring. So there is no such thing as blasting hurting each other. Waited a long time. The count has finally arrived. Look at the fat Earl. Jin Xiuhui subconsciously licked his lips. After the Earl's composition, the carriage began to move. Jin Xiuhui looked out the window. Said to himself, those buildings and roads. It costs a lot of money to repair it. The Count didn't think much of it. He replied that it would be more than a month's budget. Jin Xiuhui continued, if you don't defeat the Great Titan, the half-year budget has to be hid inside. The Count chuckled in his heart. There was a bad premonition. Then ask what you want to say. Jin Xiuhui cocked Erlang's legs. Casually said that compared to half a year, I don't even have a fraction of the construction money. I'm just thinking about it. Ha! Jin Xiuhui didn't seem to see the Count's gloomy face. Moving on to who would have anticipated. A statue erected to drive away the Great Tata. But it caused a mutilation. Whoever has the plan, we shouldn't be invited. Because the original intention was to start for the whole city. Although 2 people risked their lives. But it would be nice to be able to solve it smoothly. Haha, I overheard the squires say. As long as it contributes to the public interest of the city. Regardless of status. The Count is sure to offer a monetary reward. I'm curious. What exactly is to contribute to the public interest? The Earl's face was gloomy, and he interrupted Jin Xiuhui's words. Then say a number 1.5 times. Is that okay? Jin Xiuhui continued to say, sorry, noncommittally. You are mistaken. I'm not asking you for more money. But I do get it. For the Earl, the lives of citizens are worth 1.5 times the construction cost, except for the rhythmic sound of horses' hooves outside the window. There was no other sound in the carriage. The Count was silent for a while, and then said twice. Jin Xiuhui looked out the window with a condensed expression. Not a word. The Count's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. The hateful said 3 times. This is from the reflection of the glass. Seeing Jin Xiuhui's crazy smile like a demon, the Count gritted his teeth with hatred. Jin Xiuhui stretched out his hand with a smile on his face. In front of the Earl. So I'm amazed by your pattern, Earl. I would give him a pension. Use it where it makes sense. The Earl shook Jin Xiuhui's hand with a sad face. But he felt strange, obviously being entertained by the other party. But he doesn't hate this person. When the carriage came to the square, the surrounding residents erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Long live Master Lloyd. This makes the spirit who has never experienced such a big scene. Xiuhui felt. The pressure is high. The Earl saw the embarrassed look of the fine cultivator again. Times plus. Then playfully say that the citizens want to listen to you. I'm on the podium. A mega magic ball is ready for you. Jin Xiuhui thought in his heart that no matter how good the speech was, it would not make money. Just say some useless nonsense. For example, defeating monsters is everyone's effort. Each of us is a hero, and so on. When he stood on the podium, when the hand presses the amplified magic ball, looking at the crowd of residents in front of him, I just want to turn them all into customers. I was going to say that it was useless to think about it in advance. As a result, he said it in one mouth. Have you ever heard of underfloor heating? There was silence all around. Why? The hero's placenta root is a bit far from defeating the monster. Jin Xiuhui realized that he had said the wrong thing at this time. He looked at the impassioned gesture. Represents the useless waste of speeches. He looked at the amplified magic ball in his hand again. It means that the right to speak is in your own hands. Xi and Xiuhui did not hesitate to choose to follow his heart. Retract the impassioned gesture. Homeopathic Faceless said that everyone didn't even know. Cower next to the fireplace on a cold winter day, relying only on the tiny flame to keep warm, but he didn't dare to go far. Do you know how much time you've wasted? An hour or 2 hours. Missed by a mile. If there are 50 years in life, you're going to waste 15 years in front of the fireplace. If you think it's a pity to have time, just keep in mind underfloor heating. The Earl was denied his speech at the side. Jin Xiuhui then said confidently, underfloor heating will improve your quality of life so much. Suddenly, he felt strange. When did I speak so honestly? Then place the two. The distance of one hand cannot be larger. Let yourself go completely. Pure nonsense to say it wrong will improve so much. More details. Please come to the Baron Frontrau's house to negotiate. After the advertisement, he immediately turned around and left, not to mention saving the city and defeating Jojodel. The Earl of Tan thought to himself, I finally know why I don't hate this kid. He will ensure the benefits and follow through to the end. Do a good job and reasonably strive to maximize benefits. There is no need to put such talents. It's simply a loss for the country. The man learns that the beautiful queen wants to see him. I shed tears of remorse. Does the beautiful queen have any magic? The wound from the whip is still tickling. The longevity knight of the territory, Byron Ching, has a simple personality, integrity and honesty. He's good at everything, but no matter how hard he tried, as a knight, his strength is ordinary. Maybe it's worse than normal. This is what Kim Xiuhui said about Byron. I thought it was a pity for Byron. But what's happening now? But it subverted Jin Xiuhui's opinion. After Jin Xiuhui returned to the Baron's mansion, Byron sorted out all the project progress and report to Jin Xiuhui in detail. The first is mayor's self-assured advancement. From the allocation of land to immigrants led to a shortage of manpower, caused by the Department of Farmers, all the way down to the transfer of manpower to fill vacancies. Then there is a 7% discount on the evaluation of underfloor heating projects. Receive a large number of underfloor heating projects, although the construction of the profit decreased. But consider the later bituminous coal sales. The total profit will be more than 50%. Finally, there is the water source. Matters related to the maintenance of insulation of pipes. Defying. Organize all projects and plan them clearly, and give reasonable suggestions. Kim was surprised by Byron's efficiency. Byron don't think it's a big deal, because he just followed the young master's instructions. This is a soldier from outside the door. Please ask Byron to accept the internal construction of the floor heating house. Several people came to the construction site. Byron, though hanging with bandages, still double-check every detail. Then he said to the soldier with satisfaction, "Now you can do nothing wrong at all. It's amazing. During this time, I have spoken out against you. It's for this moment. From now on, you will be on a business trip. The most important talent." The soldiers were praised. I'm a little embarrassed, though, but it's noticeably more motivated. Refine and make the middle sidelines, let Byron deal with it. Now he is finally sure that Byron are capable, and is very capable. It's a pity that Byron was born at the wrong time. If it was in the original world, he can easily become an executive in a large company. A salary increase must be given to him. At this time, the system suddenly reminds you. The spread of underfloor heating in the old territory of Flante has been completed. Floor heating will leave a strong mark on the history of the mainland. The obligation to give your contribution is issued a large amount of RP. Rewards 400 RP points. Later, Jin Xiuhui learned, able to sign a large number of underfloor heating contract orders. Thanks to the Baroness' rational external operations, they are more suitable for other jobs than lieges. This matter made Jin Xiuhui understand. From the moment of birth, a person opens to prison. Many people will be happy or sad because of the era in which they were born. Someday, Jin Xiuhui looked at the bituminous coal warehouse under construction. The stars pay off the remaining half of the debt. In the future, you will be able to eat, drink, and be merry every day. Live a retired life. Haber looked at the young master's obscene appearance. Thought, every time I see this annoying look on his face, I couldn't help but want to beat him. At this moment, a loud horn sound was heard in the distance. The two looked back curiously. I saw a momentum slowly walking in the distance. A huge team, on a flag fluttering in the wind, printed with the eye-catching Sanjiang national emblem. Jin Xiuhui suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. The messenger solemnly opened the book according to the process. The Baron's family bowed their heads and knelt on the ground for a long time. Jin Xiuhui, I asked the ancestor of this ink blot monkey 8 times. Answer, he had a particularly bad premonition. The messenger began to read the nonsense from the book. Jin Xiuhui didn't bother to listen at all. I've been wondering what the problem is. Then the messenger read aloud. I want to meet you. Defeated 2 heroes of the Great Titan, and weigh the contribution of sending them. The system suddenly prompted Baron how to rush to rise 9 points. You get 90.2 horses. I saw that the Baron was already crying on the side. Long live the underground. This is a family honor. My son is amazing. Jin Xiuhui is called immortal in his heart. He would rather not have this RP award. Kim Xiuhui's experience in the army told me. Finish the matter. Can't be too good. If this iron law is violated, there will be endless work on him. If it has anything to do with the king, the retirement of the rural aristocracy will never be thought about. The messenger finally read out, Order Lloyd and his guards. The knight immediately went to the national capital. After the tears of joy and tears of the Baron's father, Ding Xiuhui left tears of remorse. I should have stopped after meeting the sea god Heim. The stinky lobster cursed me. Count Cremo, you rascal old man, take revenge on me. If the king has a crush on me, I'll be called for the rest of my life. Jin Xiuhui, sitting in the carriage to the national capital. Haver asked the young master curiously, "Why do you look like you're going to the execution ground?" Jin Xiuhui casually returned to the tip of your eyes. Haver continued, "I thought Master Lloyd would think, how much will it cost His Majesty the King?" And then I was so happy. Haver's words reminded Kim Xiuhui. He read the entire Tyson Night novel, the character of King Macentano, and what the future holds. There is also the plot of the story that he knows. Just act on your own initiative. You can get left and right, since it's already like this. Then flatter the king. Let's take a good look at it. A few days later, Jin Xiuhui knelt with Haver in the splendid royal palace hall. After hearing the king's permission, they both looked up. Look at the beautiful queen in front of you. Jin Xiuhui couldn't help but panic under this slight pressure. To alleviate oppression, he hastened to say in a loud voice, "Long live His Majesty." Lloyd meets the owner of the land, His Majesty the King. The king said very differently, "Judging by your bearing, I thought the people around you were nobles." Then the beautiful queen smiled and said, "Haver-ching, I feel it from you. Special magic flows. It seems that you are entitled to despise the keyboard with me." Haver replied honestly, as always, "I'm sorry, I'm just a nameless knight." The king's precise gaze shocked the Marquis of Jin Xiuhui. I couldn't help but think to myself that he just glanced at it. You know what makes Haver special? He is worthy of a king, one of the two juggernauts in the kingdom. Most of the rhetoric in front of him will die miserably. This vile, nasty, licking dog. After meeting the beautiful queen in your heart, conquer the queen's heart with a nimble tongue. How the queen would spur this lowly man. The queen stands in the sun's radiance, condescendingly looking down at the two. First affirmed their cervix, but the queen also made her attitude clear. He was going to test Lloyd's abilities for himself. Jin Xiuhui was not surprised at all, because he guessed in advance. He's more happy now. Is there a bigger business than the state? This is a great opportunity to win the king's order. The queen's voice came, and I asked you, what do you think of the national capital of Macenta? What is the most urgently needed project? Jin Xiuhui thought silently in his heart. I certainly know the answer to this question, because I know the plot of all novels. The queen's eyes stared at Jin Xiuhui. Thought to heart, if you are really competent in civil engineering, Wang Cheng's question should be clear at a glance. That is Wang Cheng, who is repairing and gradually collapsing. Jin Xiuhui replied calmly and evaded. It needs to be on the Medina River, which crosses the capital. Build a new bridge. Heard Jin Xiuhui's reply. The queen frowned slightly, obviously dissatisfied with this answer. Kim Xiuhui knew very well that the queen was not satisfied, because that's not the answer he wants. But according to the character of the queen, he's certainly not going to end the test there. A man with supreme power and absolute force. He has a bold temperament and is above board. You can even listen to each other's suggestions regardless of whether you are high or low. The queen asked slowly and in a low voice. What is the reason? Jin Xiuhui heard it from the queen's tone. His mood fluctuates. But he continued. Maybe some people think so. What is urgently needed now is to repair the dynasty. I know it was a long time ago. There is a dragon with a grumpy temperament. Twice the towers of the royal city were raised to prevent such a thing from happening again. The royal city has become what it is now because he was afraid of being uprooted by him. It is only then that there is the city of Macenta, which is now extremely heavy. His weight squeezed the ground and the pillars. The limits of the bearing capacity of the foundation are exceeded. That's why it will lead to a little bit of settlement collapse. But it's too early to repair. So I don't think it's a project that needs to be built urgently. With Jin Xiuhui's gushing narration, the The queen's brow furrowed a little. This unreasonable person. He knew the answer in my heart, but he still gave another answer. Jin Xiuhui thought sinisterly in his heart. I know what the king is thinking. But he gave another answer. I know this very well. He knew it now. The queen smiled sinisterly when she saw Jin Xiuhui. I thought silently in my heart. He knew that I knew to him what I was thinking. But he gave another answer. I know this well. The corners of the mouth are about to crack to the back of the head. Thinking, hey. I know what the king is thinking. But I know that there is another answer. He knows I know. The system yelled enough. Is the madman molesting me? How could I be that I'm breaking the law with you? The queen was not angry. Instead, interest was raised. After a series of psychological games, the two of them went through a series of psychological games. Jin Xiuhui continued. The bridge over the Mizina River was rebuilt several times. Because of that bridge, unable to withstand the surge in water flow in the spring. Every time it collapses, it brings inconvenience to the lives of the people. For this, a lot of money needs to be invested in repairs. But everyone thinks it's a natural disaster. I never thought it was a construction problem. If you leave this project to me, I would use the technique of suspension bridges. Build a bridge that won't be crushed by floods. Nearest the king, nearest the gallows. Not to mention the tigress. The queen was now slightly angry. Because Jin Xiuhui, just now, negates the decision he made. After thinking for a moment, the corners of his mouth curled slightly. Because this feeling of being pushed against him is very comfortable. After a moment of silence, Queen Chen said, you continue. Explain the bridge you want to build. Jin Xiuhui had an evil smile on his face. I thought it felt great. I knew you'd love to be pushed. Jin Xiuhui began to explain the technical knowledge of suspension bridges. It's boring and hypnotic. Haver's knowledge of concrete. The queen only listened for a moment before interrupting her. Enough is enough. I suddenly didn't want to hear it. The queen depicted in the novel. Extreme disgust with groveling. Evil for flatterers. To the light. People with faith give trust. But he was also betrayed by those he trusted. Lost an arm. Blackened into a cruel monarch. But that was 3 years later. Now he's still a listener. The holy monarch of words. The queen asked solemnly, what if the bridge collapsed? Jin Xiuhui thought in his heart. I would pack my bags and flee abroad. But he said firmly, then please behead me for public display. But as long as that bridge is still there, Your Majesty, please preserve the position of our family. This last sentence is simply a stroke of genius. Jin Xiuhui is begging the queen for a gold medal for avoiding death. The queen was degraded by Kim Xiuhui's shameless pleas. Then he boldly agreed to this request. Jin Xiuhui hurried westward. Take out the contract that has been prepared long ago and ask the queen to sign it. The queen saw that this guy had written the contract in advance. Angrily, you don't believe what I say. Jin Xiuhui held the contract high above his head. Speaking of His Majesty, this is not the case. In this contract, included, if I didn't seriously construct, the content that will be cut by 1,000 cuts. I think it's right to can't. A trusting lowly person must have. The queen of the family sighed at the guy in front of her. This is how the language is used. Then obediently signed the contract. Kim Xiuhui held the contract and thanked the queen. The queen asked him curiously, what are you going to do next? Jin Xiuhui explained. Because in front of His Majesty's signature, I couldn't hang my head any lower. You can only strike a relatively low-looking pose. The queen reluctantly said, I know. Hurry up and put it down. It's really spicy to the eyes. After leaving the palace of the Maharaja, Jin Xiuhui arrogantly pointed to the contract to show Haver. It's like saying you saw it. Your eldest brother and I got the contract from the king. Haver whispered helplessly. You beware of being beheaded by His Majesty. I can't stop the sword of the returning sword of the Juggernaut. After repairing and leaving, the guardian knight at the queen's side said to the queen, Your Majesty, this man is not only intelligent, but also calculating. Don't you feel a little displeased? The queen said leisurely. He was more cunning than I thought. He's kind of determined. The way I look does displease me. But he's just as vulgar and a little scary. Plato told me, when you want to conquer each other, as a matter of fact, has already been conquered by the other side to a certain extent. A few days later, Jin Xiuhui picked up his backpack and prepared to go out. Haber said worriedly, "Is it really okay if you go alone?" Jin Xiuhui said impatiently that the security of the national capital is so good. "It's okay, and it's a hassle to go out with you, okay? Just went to measure because of you. I couldn't concentrate at all. And you're a mother, aren't you? Even the pigeons love what the hell you are." Haber reluctantly said, "Please tell Julian. I'm doing well." Jin Xiuhui waved his hand to signal that it was no problem. Julian was Lloyd's younger brother. "I am currently studying at a national college." The Baroness prepared a large bag of Oriental medicine and preparations. Let Jin Xiuhui be sure to give it to his younger brother. Jin Xiuhui. As I walked, I thought about the plot of Julian in the novel. After the bankruptcy of the Baron's family, he was kicked out of his dormitory because he couldn't pay his tuition. As a result, he was killed by robbers in the middle of the night. This won't happen this time. I saved him by accident. Since it's here, just go and see you. A younger brother who doesn't even know what he looks like. The younger brother with high grades is bullied at school. Scarred arms can be seen everywhere. The beater has an arrogant attitude. The background is deep. The elder brother is a hero who saves a city. What will he do with this? Jin Xiuhui came to the academy with his backpack. Unexpectedly, his younger brother questioned him in disgust. To do something. Jin Xiuhui looked at his younger brother Julian condescendingly. I thought to myself, all I knew was that he was the same age as Haver. I didn't expect it to be a little kid at all. Look at him like this. What a bastard Lloyd is. That's how his brother sees him. Based on previous experience with the tavern keeper, I've got to behave a little bit of a jerk now. Otherwise, he will revolt against the new one. Jin Xiuhui took a look at the pointed end of the backpack, thrown into his brother's arms. With a bored expression, he said that it was given to you by his mother. Julian suddenly raised his alertness. He didn't even scold me, and he also deliberately helped his mother run errands. At this time, the system suddenly prompts. Your actions were overly gracious. He was doubting whether it was Ben. Jin Xiuhui couldn't believe it. Where was my gesture just now? This kid from Lloyd is terrible. The kind-hearted Jin Xiuhui really can't play the bad guy. Turned around and said, it's okay. I'm gone, stinky boy. Julian's mind is even more different. He didn't hit me and just left. What the hell is wrong with this person? You're being prompted to behave too much like a normal person. His suspicions were even greater. Jin Xiuhui was so wronged in his heart. He all shouted stinky boys. Do you want to kick Julian? That's when he suddenly remembered. His mother asked him to eat with his brother. Jin Xiuhui was irritated when he thought about it. Julian looked at her brother, who was so abnormal. I was anxious and anxious. Jin Xiuhui asked helplessly, is there a more expensive restaurant here? Please have a meal. Sticky boy. Julian asked suspiciously, why did his brother have a treat? Jin Xiuhui explained, what else could it be? It was my mother who told me about it. Sticky boy. Although it took less than a few minutes to meet. But Julian, it has been determined that there is a problem with the brother in front of him. The two brothers arrive at a fancy restaurant. Julian cringes as she prepares for the basic course. Jin Xiuhui said irritably, let's get something more expensive. You don't usually get a chance to come to this kind of restaurant. Julian felt that something was missing. The scene stood still for a few seconds. Jin Xiuhui went on to say, stinky boy. Julian's face darkened. I thought to myself, he must have forgotten to say the stinky boy just now. I actually have to make up for why he is so normal. He used to be a swearing-speaking bastard. Just one look at him will get kicked. Julian plucked up his courage. Whisper then, I want to choose the set of places. Jin Xiuhui taught the deceased. Tell me 2 selected packages. Try asking if you need to serve alcohol. Jin Xiuhui waved his hand and replied, "No, I quit drinking." This sentence shocked Julie again. He was amazed to see that he had quit drinking. It's still the same 24 hours soak in the vat. Borrowing alcohol to go crazy. A few days ago, someone from Wangcheng suddenly came to me. He related to me when the city of Cremo was attacked by the Titans. And the one who repelled the Rush Titans was Lloyd. How is this possible? Lloyd didn't have that kind of mind. I don't have that strength either. This must be a rumor. Or maybe it's him. Take the credit for Haver's work for yourself? That's what I thought. But he's changed too much now. It's just another person entirely. Suddenly there was a snap. A yellow first slapped Julian. Then he said with contempt that it was up to you, a poor ghost. How would you dine here? Kim Soho watched his younger brother suddenly be beaten. He silently stopped the fork in his hand. He knew very well that this was Wangcheng, not his own home. Observe before deciding what to do with your brother. Julian's face was full of fear. Cowardly say sorry. Today the situation is exceptional. Huang Mao punched again. How did you learn your law class? It is also possible to violate the law depending on the situation. Little Rollo of the Baron's house. It is not possible to eat in a conspicuous place. You know why? My brother was beaten because of his eyes. Jin Xiuhui was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he carefully observed the situation around him. The two at the next table laughed at Julian. It's almost time to eat at home. Dare to come here. There was such a big commotion. The people in the restaurant closed their eyes and pretended not to see. Jin Xiuhui understood. My brother encountered school violence. Here compared to academic performance. More emphasis is placed on background status. The son of a poor village lord has excellent grades. It's even more unpleasant, even if it helps him now. College life will become more troublesome later on. The younger brother is also frantically signaling not to interfere. Look at the scars on his arms. It should be bullied a lot. What to do? At this time, Huang Mao suddenly said arrogantly, "Our family. But there is Raknada that even the kingdom recognizes. At least at this level. To be eligible to eat here." Hear Huang Mao's words. Jin Xiuhui discussed. This kid said Raknada. Is it Viscount Lackner? The coolie I crushed. Jin Xiuhui, who has not yet decided how to solve this matter. The brain quickly sorts out all kinds of information and calculates. When he put the plan through and through, a demonic grin appeared on his face. Then ask what you do. Huang Maoting's hand, which was about to fall, said arrogantly, "My father was the wise and compassionate Laknada. Are you a relative of this group of ghosts? Stop spreading the smell of cow dung. Get out of here." A big fight knocked him back. The yellow-haired front teeth flew with a crisp sound. The body rotates 180 degrees and rises off the ground. After landing on the ground, Thomas sat like a spinning top and went back. Your father wouldn't dare to be so arrogant in front of me. You're a fart. Lloyd's slap was nothing but magic. I didn't use my explosive skills to cripple this kid. It's just because he took his father's class later. I have to suck his blood myself. A red-haired man on the edge of this history said arrogantly, "Where did the madman come from? Dare to offend the friends of the High Federation." Immediately, he was forced to fight. A big guy said fiercely, "I was the first rebel in the 2nd grade. Fist Lao Tzu doesn't have time to listen to you pretending. Two silly ones who look exactly the same. Dare to jump out? It's some unreasonable guy who is going wild. We are the Earl known as the Black Dragon's feet. Twins, you two are so unspeakable." Jin Xiuhui walked towards a mushroom head. The mushroom head waved his hand in fright. Said he just watched and did nothing. You're one of them. Jin Xiuhui walked in front of the last two remaining people. The two of them trembled with fright. Say we didn't say anything. Jin Xiuhui said indifferently. You giggled. Clicks are 2 emerald lines. At this time, Huang Mao suddenly rushed over. Sneak attack behind Jin Xiuhui. A punch was punched in Jin Xiuhui's face. Then he said complacently, "I'm a genius at manipulating magic." How about the mana punch that was thrown? The yellow-haired name is Diego Lacna. He is 21 years old. Now the young man regretted it, although that punch caused damage to the opponent. But at the same time, a terrifying demon was awakened. The younger brother was eating, but was beaten by Xiaoba. The elder brother didn't want to bully the weak. Xiaoba was arrogant and even beat his brother together. Xiaoba's punch completely released the demon in front of him. Jin Xiuhui grabbed Huang Mao's collar. The thrill of breaking free from the shackles came from the body. Deep down, I longed for the itchy feeling of violence. He couldn't help it. "Your head hangs." Smashed it down, and Huang Mao's forehead was swollen for a few days. Jin Xiuhui. He didn't use magic to protect his forehead. That would make him feel no pain. The joy that pain brings. He wants to satisfy the desires of his heart. Jin Xiuhui pulled up the limp yellow hair again, in the yellow hair's incessant begging for mercy. Another head hammer. At this time, the big bag on the yellow hair's forehead is already higher than the nose. The younger brother was terrified by the property. He knew his brother was a madman. After today's contact, I thought my brother had become normal. I didn't expect him to get even crazier. The younger brother wanted to ask someone from the restaurant for help, but the man had long since disappeared. "Are you happy to smash it? You wonder why? We'll be beaten like this." Wise and merciful Lacnus. Don't you fart and make drafts? The father and son's ability to pretend to be forced is really a virtue. Is it fun to bully classmates? Clear your head. Scum, you don't have a good education when you grow so big. You don't have to thank me for seeing this. Is it dirty? Lick it clean. The younger brother is desperately calling the police. Refine how-level yelling. Stop going on. It's going to kill you. I'm going to school for this madman. Jin Xiuhui said lightly. You're worried that you'll be bullied more severely afterward. Then he said with a relaxed face and said, don't worry. As long as he's dead, he can't bully you. Hear the solution given by my brother. My brother's face turned white with fright. Don't talk nonsense and continue to abuse dogs. Jin Xiuhui is also a person who came out of school. When I was studying, I saw a lot of this kind of scum. Communicate with them and reason. Are you kidding? Only the intimidation of death can be immediate. At this time, there was a sound behind him, and he immediately helped. It turned out to be the dean called by the restaurant manager. And convoys. The dean immediately shouted, "This is the aid of His Majesty, the Great King. The Holy Academy of Help. How dare you go wild here? Ginger is really old and spicy. When I don't understand the identity and background of the troublemaker, it is wisest to carry the king out." Jin Xiuhui exuded a blood-colored murderous aura. Fiercely looked at the guts. The rogue old man who disturbed his entertainment. The younger brother saw Jin Xiuhui's eyes. My heart trembled. Could it be that he still wants to be a guard and a dean? This is a crime of beheading. Jin Xiuhui turned around and said hello to a gentleman. I'm Lloyd, Julian's big brother. The brother's calm expression shocked Julian again. I couldn't help but think in my heart, how it seems that he is waiting for a good wine. Jin Xiuhui said politely, I apologize to you for the riot I caused. I didn't mean to. I just want to be great. His Majesty the King regains his reputation. Jin Xiuhui had planned it from before he started. The game has the rules of the game. In the national capital, a place where powerful people walk everywhere. He had to hold on to the king's whole card. The dean scolded him. What kind of bastard are you talking about? Who do you say has damaged the reputation of His Majesty the King? Jin Xiuhui pointed to the yellow hair on the ground and said, It was the son of this Lackner family. He beat and insulted my brother Julian. The gentleman standing in the back saw it. But he never stopped the man, bullying my brother. So it's really possible that you didn't see it. Haha, Jin Xiuhui knew it very well in his heart. School administrators are inextricably linked to the powerful. They will certainly not offend these powerful children. Students form their own groups. After graduation, will influence the academy with its own power. These so-called gardeners don't just know everything, is even conniving at the children of the powerful to bully Julian. Because of poverty, the poor baron's son does not bring them good. The director asked, "What does this have to do with His Majesty the King?" Jin Xiuhui said as he reached into his arms, "To insult my brother is to insult me. To insult me is to despise the king." Then he took out a meta box from that pocket. In front of the high level of the academy, Yuan he opened. In a dazzling light, the royal family's double dragon emblem shines with a brilliant golden light. Jin Xiuhui then said lightly, "And I am the king's special guest of honor." A group of rogue old men were so frightened that they quickly fell to their knees. Long live the chanting of His Majesty the King. Jin Xiuhui put away the badge. On the left side of the side, I said that all the leaders understood. Then I'll take my leave. The rogue old man finally knew. Jin Xiuhui's whole cards for the account. Thinking about stupid guys in my heart. Wang's status as a guest of honor is only temporary. Let's ride a donkey and see. We'll see the ledger. When Jin Xiuhui walked to his side, suddenly, I had a bad feeling. Quietly raised his eyelids and took a look. Saw. Jin Xiuhui looked at him with a demonic expression, as if to say, "You don't worry. The game between the two of us has just begun." The rogue old man's heart trembled. Finally realized that this time the kick was on the iron plate. Jin Xiuhui saw his younger brother standing still in a daze. Then he turned his head and said what to do. "Hurry up and come here." After the two left the restaurant, Julian asked, "What are we going to do now?" Jin Xiuhui said naturally, "Take you to the office to take a leave of absence." Julian roared at Jin Xiuhui, "You're having a good day. Beat the school bully and intimidate the teacher. In the future, I will be bullied even worse at school. How else can I study?" Facing the accusations of his younger brother, Kim Xiu didn't mind either. And then it's easy to say that it's going to be a mess here soon. You don't learn either. You can take the opportunity to take a break and exercise by the way. Have you ever heard of this phrase? The best muscles. It is a muscle that is developed through hard work. The picture comes to the VIP dormitory in Wangsheng. Julian is complaining to Haver about today's events. Haver said after listening to Julian's description, "You can trust Master Lloyd's arrangement. There will definitely be a good outcome in the end." Julian said Haver in disbelief. "What happened to you? He's a bastard Lloyd. How can I trust him?" Haver said sincerely, "You can't even believe what I'm saying." Julian was asked, because he knew that Haver never told lies. Haver calmly continued in Cranolds. "Defeat monsters is excellent. Titan's combat plan. It's all Master Lloyd's plan. And after I lost the ability to fight, Lloyd, the young master used a desperate skill that hurt both sides. Alone gave the monster a fatal blow. He built roads in his hometown and opened up water wheels. Mining of coal mines. At the same time, he also became friends with the wild orcs. The Baron's huge debts. At present, more than half of it has been repaid. This is all achieved by the ability of young Master Lloyd. Trust him, Master Lloyd. Now it is the hope and benefactor of the territory." When Lloyd came to the door, just in time to hear Haver's praise, can't help but make him a little proud. The two men in the room continued, incredulous. He was originally a jerk. He was a drunkard, and he was really stupid. I don't know if it's garbage. It is incurable scum. Jin Xiuhui's smug face just now. In an instant, it was like eating 2 caddies of stool. And it was someone who broke his mouth. The kind that is shoehorned in. Julian asked Haver curiously, "What do you think? Is it really possible for people to change so much?" Haver replied in the affirmative, of course, that it was not possible. "I'm more convinced. That man was someone else who looked like Master Lloyd." Buddies, this episode is narrating. I added some of my own workplace experience. Represents personal views only. Hope for already in the workplace. or a partner who is about to enter the workplace can help. Avoid stepping on pits. Julian asked, could it be that it was black magic that took away Lloyd? Fleshhaver said slowly, I've only seen this theory you talk about in books, but it takes a lot of magic to practice. Stabilize the soul. I secretly checked the young master's body. There was no special magical aura in him. His body and soul are naturally one. Jin Xiuhui once again fooled around. Haver went on to say that I was talking about speculation. Somewhat absurd. Please forget. Julian added, but the elder brother suddenly judged the two. It makes me feel even more absurd. Jin Xiuhui guessed. Haver sensed him outside the door. Most of what he said just now was a signal to him. Julian laughed at himself. Said, I just learned that my family has so much debt. I thought I was the only one struggling to learn. Practice. I didn't expect my brother to do so much to pay off his debts. It turns out that I am the easiest person to live. I'm sure he's changed. After all, my brother saved our territory. The system prompts Julian. Opinion of you goes up by 2 points. You get 28.2 horses. Currently minus 59 friendship. It's nice to be finally repaired, because Julian can also become a 2-horse warehouse. Then he pushed the door open and said, Julian, here we go. Get ready to start your muscle-building coolie career. Kim Xiuhui brought Julian to the studio. Demonstrations and explanations. Preparing to make a special wire rope for suspension bridges. The first step is to put the oil in soil. Slap into a pizza with a diameter of more than 1 meter. Step 2. Then put on the earth and stones of various compositions. Finish the pizza. The third step is to eat the little bell beautifully. In the fourth step, the small bell can both spray the steel wire. Step 5. Wait for the wire to cool down. Rub 120 into a strand. So the wire rope is complete. That's the end of my note. It's as simple as putting an elephant in the freezer. You have to remember that this is the point of discrimination in this project. If you don't regret this, it's all over. Whether it's the debt of our territory or the rest of your college life, we'll be swayed by him. Such a heavy pressure. Julian was a little overwhelmed. Anxiously asked about such an important job. Why leave it to me? Jin Xiuhui said that each leader was calling. Something that subordinates will say when they are in the past. It's because it's important. That's why it's entrusted to the smart. You are responsible. Sticky boy. Julian revealed the workplace novice encounter. Bowles' touched expression. Buddies. If the leader says, so to you when. Most likely, he couldn't find anyone else. Take over the job. Another possibility is to find a backbiter. Don't have the illusion of meeting Bowl. A good project is not the turn of a newcomer in the workplace. Jin Xiuhui knew it very well in his heart. With the technological productivity of this era, construction of suspension bridges, it can be said that it is a fantasy. He couldn't do it on his own, no matter how much he tossed it. It must be helped beyond the power of technology. Jin Xiuhui holds the construction drawings. Just walked into the royal workshop, the dwarf of the royal family. Craftsman Technology Dust drunkenly said, I don't want it. It's clear that Technodos hears the wind. Guessed he would come. Jin Xiuhui held the drawings. Respectfully smiling, I haven't said a word yet. Technodust said very simply, I don't want to hear it. You hurry up and leave me. This Jin Xiuhui thought in his heart. Sure enough, it's the same as described in the novel. It's a stubborn old man. It is said that even if it was the king's request, as long as he himself is not interested, will never act. Jin Xiuhui directly unfolded the drawing. Said, here are the blueprints for the new bridge over the Messina River. This structure is called a row frame. The old man held up the bottle. Drunk and smoky, say believe it or not, I'll throw it on your head. I'm not interested in drawings of mere human design. Curiosity drove him to open his hazy drunkenness. Looked, it's one of a kind. A chain-sent structure composed of angular and square gangs, in the form of a triangle of transmission. Load transfer is split and transferred. if the strength of the material can be guaranteed. That's the lightest weight possible. To achieve super support, connoisseurs will know if there is one as soon as they make a move. 4 dwarven craftsmen who are addicted to the field of technology. Although I don't understand the principles of modern mechanics, but this structure piqued his keen interest. Jin Xiuhui was very unbeaten and rolled up the drawings. Said, "Oops. I'm sorry, it's me who can't help myself. I'm going to find another blacksmith to do it." The roots of the tooth of science and technology are carried forward. The bottles were almost crushed. Hate said, "Wait a minute. You know the structure if you can't. If the strength of the material is guaranteed, will something happen?" Technodo saw the key points at a glance. No matter how good the design concept is, if the strength of the material can't keep up, it's also a piece of waste paper. Jin Xiuhui said heavily, "Of course I know. The bridge will break, and it has led to the loss of many lives. And I'll be guillotined. I'll say it to everyone when the time comes. If it had been Technodox who had built it." This last sentence, I almost didn't make the old man's nose crooked. This bastard. Prepare to make a name for yourself when you are dying. Forthwith. With a gloomy face, "You arrogant and rude fellow. Are you threatening me? If you want a person to work hard, the best way is to tie him into the same boat." Jin Xiuhui said insidiously, "How could it be? I'm just awakening the conscience of a craftsman." The old man was panting desperately with anger. If Jin Xiuhui is really dying, pull him along. He will bear the infamy of destroying the lives of the people of the world. This shameless bastard. The old man thought about it for a while. Stretch out your hand and say, "Take it and take a look." As a technical worker par excellence, the old man quickly immersed himself in the design. Jin Xiuhui stood aside and kept quiet. After the old man read the drawings, "Proudly, I am sure that I am in this kingdom. Only I can do it. If you leave this thing to those wastes to do, it will definitely cause a major accident." Jin Xiuhui said sincerely, "That's why I'm here to threaten you." "No, it's please." Technodus said helplessly, "You guy. First, he tempted me with technical drawings. Then they threatened me with the lives of the people. You're such a bastard." Jin Xiuhui shamelessly said, "Thank you for the compliment. How dare I threaten you? I just know that you are a kind person." When Techno Duce agreed, when I took over this task, Jin Xiuhui bowed straight at 90 degrees. Mia thanked Master Technodus for his kindness. As a nobleman, Jin Xiuhui didn't have to bow to the craftsman. I really don't understand why he did this. Tell me in the comment area of the partner who knows. All the preparations have been laid. Julian makes wire ropes. The royal family workshop made the bridge deck of the row structure. Kim Xiuhui and have her prepare to make the main tower of the bridge. At this time, a group of uninvited guests suddenly came. The leader shouted to stop the construction immediately. "How dare you deceive the Wang family and embezzle the property of the state treasury? Absolutely unforgivable." This big hat buttons down. Jin Xiuhui was stunned. Meanwhile, the minister of the Maharaja is complaining to the queen. "It will cost a lot of money every year. Repair of the tofu dregs Big Joe. It is said to be a great bridge that has been strong for 30 years. In the end, Jin Xiuhui made a conclusion. Call them cunning people who were placed on the property of the royal family. The queen of the heroic soul smells the taste inside. Jin Xiuhui. This is the cake that has moved some people. Whether it's repairing the old bridge every year or a new suspension bridge, this money is definitely going to be spent. But which one is the best choice? This scene of fighting for the cake is sure to be very good. The beautiful queen's whip is really. The two men were originally the queen's favorites. The queen will be served comfortably every day. It's just because they offended the queen's new love. Was tied up by the queen and whipped all night. In a conference room in the royal palace, the queen is ready to watch the performances of both sides. The president of the trade union believes the existing bridge is 30 years old, but not to the point where it needs to be demolished, and the annual maintenance cost is much lower than that of new construction. Jin Xiuhui reads through the Predator Night novels. He knew that the bridge would soon collapse due to heavy rains. But this reason cannot be said. Jin Xiuhui was worried about the time when he wanted to speak. The queen reminded him. Stated opinions. In terms of the safe use of bridges and capital investment, Jin Xiuhui is very passive. Then he can only use other methods. Jin Xiuhui said suddenly, I would like to pay tribute to the officials around the president of the union. Ask a question. How much money you charged? This question caught the two opposite sides off guard. The official shouted angrily, You are spewing blood. How dare you frame the officials of the kingdom in front of His Majesty the King? Please make your own decision for me. See the reaction of the officials. Jin Xiuhui knew that he must have received the money. He dared to say that without evidence. It's because the flow of information in his world is well developed. The conclusion of government and business is basically something that everyone knows. Officials work for profiteers and provide an umbrella. Profiteers exploit the people, plunder money, and bribe officials. Today's thing. Obviously, Gonghui wanted to monopolize the funds. The queen said angrily to Lloyd Frontrow, I always thought you were smart people, but you made a big mistake. Dared to frame the officials of the kingdom without evidence. Immediately the man prepared for judgment. Finally trimmed the five-flowered big tie and knelt down on the ground cabinet. The blade of the hand was raised above his head. Just wait for the king's order. The queen said condescendingly and loudly to Lloyd. Listen up. You have insulted me and my courtiers with lies. I want my reputation back. Have her. I never thought things would turn out like this. Reach out and grasp the hilt of the sword. Make up your mind to come to the rescue at a critical moment. The queen asked coldly, Do you have anything to say at the end? Jin Xiuhui bowed his head and said firmly, Your Majesty. His teammates are the most persistent, and he is the most persistent. Jin Xiuhui's words simply couldn't fix Haver. Young master, what's the matter? Instead, it asked for an increased punishment. Junior. Dong felt that he should also be regarded as one of the three clans. I was so scared that the hairy children cried. The queen asked the other two to arrive. Do you agree with that? The two wanted Lloyd to hurry. It's good to be dead. Without much thought, I agreed to this approach. The queen shouted to the officials. In order for Lloyd to die, clearly. I want to prove your innocence. The queen's words made the two suddenly have a bad premonition. Suddenly, four magicians appeared. Surround the officials in the middle. The queen gave the order to cast a confession spell in a loud voice. The officials were scared and wanted to continue to quibble. At this time, the magic of the four mages is activated. As expected, Jin Xiuhui's treacherous plan succeeded again. He used to watch a lot of film and television dramas about power struggles. Building bridges and paving roads is a trivial matter that can be solved with a little money. Those in power don't care at all who does it for. What they care about most is their rights. Who would dare to do anything to shake the regime? Absolutely severe punishment will not be granted. Solve the party camp division. Officials and businessmen collude in this kind of disorderly thing. It is precisely what those in power abhor. Because it's like slowly encroaching on royal power. The tower will one day come to a downfall. Jin Xiuhui really has no evidence, but he just had to push it lightly. The queen would take the initiative to help him find evidence. This plan is when he blames officials. It's already good. Jin Xiuhui came to live in shame. Said to the two people who were already next door, Go with confidence. I have begged your majesty not to affect your family. I'm not very kind, haha. This farce led to delays in construction. Originally, it was very irritating to let the refinement be good. But the queen waved her hand. Put all the manpower of the kingdom into hanging. In the construction of the rope bridge. Long live the queen's sister. The wizard uses gravity magic to reduce the weight by 10 pieces. The main tower was built in an instant. Next is the trash of wire ropes. A small bell holds the wire rope in its mouth. Then use the volcanic eruption skill to launch it. Small bells. This cute little girl rides in a black leather. Like a missile. Fly to the same huge painting as the opposite bank. Budong was spreading his hands, waiting for the little belle to throw herself into his arms. There was a loud bang. The little belle shyly put her face into the small Budong wand. Xiao Budong looks at you from this point. Report that the girls are all flowing out. The docking is successful. The winch rotates and the wire rope is broken. The second wire rope is coming. Julian in the crowd. Look at everything that's happening in front of you. Said with emotion, brother, so powerful. Hathor smiled sincerely and said that you are also very good. It's the first time I've done such heavy work. Can persist for a day. You're already, as Master Lloyd said, has the most advanced polyp trained by coolies. Construction of the suspension bridge continues. Gigantic little Hama. Drag the bridge deck to the specified location. Dock with a high-level mage and use the art of fire. Fuse the gap weld. That's it under the collective wisdom. The works were completed quickly. Suspension bridges are the first trips in the form of bridges. It will stand as a milestone in this world. The system prompts you to complete the construction of the Guadu suspension bridge. Bonus RP based on your contributions. Rewards 1,050 RP points. Currently holds 3,019 points RP. The Queen was honored in public on the newly completed bridge. Named the bridge Roy Haver. Took Lloyd's and Havers, respectively, and gave Lloyd the title of Famous General. Dvodovan Artisan. Technodust said, unconvinced in the crowd. Obviously, I built the bridge deck, but he gave that little hairy boy the title of Famous General. But I thought that the entire building was designed by Jin Xiuhui. The part of my heart gradually turned into recognition, and the presiding officer of the whole project. But I was thinking about getting the project money quickly. Pay off your debts. In this way, you can go home to eat, drink, and have fun to retire. Life was before that, but there is a huge obstacle. The beautiful queen looked down at the man kneeling at her feet. My heart is very tangled. How to use this? Because he has so many uses. Jin Xiuhui guessed that the queen would not let him go, but he just wants to escape from the clutches of the beautiful queen's sister. The beautiful queen said to Jin Xiuhui that she should go back to the palace with me. There are other things. Let Queen Jin Xiuhui show an evil smile, because he has a good way of killing two birds with one stone. It can solve the problems of the faculty of geography. It can let the queen's sister let go again. Excessive demand for her clutches. The commentary in the next episode is even more exciting. Don't forget to check it out. This man is a virgin who is 10,000 years old. The lover of her dreams was snatched away by her closest good brother. He swore to find a beautiful woman to clear the rules. But when the kingdom's first by Fumi seduces him, he was encouraged in the palace of the Maharaja. The queen announced in public, grant Lloyd lands and titles. This reward aroused the displeasure of some ministers. The queen knew it very well. Lloyd was a township in the eyes of these people. Barola. After destroying their children's therapy, they were also banned. But the Queen's decision to reuse Lloyd will not change. The dissatisfaction of these ministers can only be found later. Jin Xiuhui thanked the Queen for the reward, but he brazenly wanted a bigger reward. The ministers all looked at the hillbilly with indignation. In my heart, I decided that this person was greedy and shameless. The Queen was curious when she heard Jin Xiuhui's request. Non-committally, let Jin Xiuhui talk about him first. Jin Xiuhui said solemnly, if you think the knowledge that the villain is looking for makes sense, please take back your fiefdoms and positions. Queen, I can't guess what this guy sells in a gourd. Let him state the request before deciding what to do with it. Jin Xiuhui continued, the villain asks His Majesty to kiss Burleigh College. Messena, Burleigh College is full of filth, despicable acts, than academics. The students are more concerned about the filming struggle. This was given to the nobles of the lower titles. Children bring mental and physical pain, and the educators of the academy will only turn a blind eye. Close one eye. Corruption is rampant, when students should be delving into knowledge. But he is obsessed with the sweetness of power, when you should have ambitions for the world. In turn, the barriers to the consolidation of the class were erected. This is very different from the purpose for which the academy was established. Today's show how's hearty words are here. Some of the ministers in heaven have begun to break out in a cold sweat. Haver at the beckon of Jin Xiuhui. The dossier came to the queen with his hand. Jin Xiuhui explained to the queen, "It's the two of us. Information from a 4-month survey. There are people who have graduated from the academy. Workers doing chores. There are also professors of conscience who do not want to go along with it. Detailed records collate their testimonies and sources." Several ministers broke out in a cold sweat, and the slander was repaired. Lying and denying that such a thing exists in the academy. The queen does not want to listen to this nonsense. Directly order the confession magic to be cast. The magicians surrounded the ministers in the middle. Unleash your magic. There is no suspense. These ministers, they all enjoyed the queen's whip on the pillar of shame. The queen was really angry this time. Lead the soldiers to storm the National Academy. Clear the list and put them in jail, waiting for trial. And he said fiercely to all the prisoners, "According to the nature of your sin, they will be punished separately. The confiscation of fiefs and even the death penalty of a legal office. Be enlightened." However, the two brave men were standing in the distance at this time. "Look curious," Haber said lightly. "It seems that the academy has been cleaned up." It made the young master very happy. Jin Xiuhui smiled cynically and said something wrong. "Now Sister King has completely forgotten about my existence. It's going to have to go on for a while. We can get the project money back to the territory." Suddenly, a bounty. A calm voice sounded behind Jin Xiuhui. "I have come to proclaim His Majesty's will." I was still excited to death just now. In the blink of an eye, the hairs counts down. Jin Xiuhui has 10,000 grass and mud horses in his heart. "Uncle, don't play like this, okay? I'm going to be impotent. I don't want to be a virgin forever." Of course, Jin Xiuhui didn't have the courage to say this. The uncle said to Jin Xiuhui, "Even if you want to leave, be sure to come to tomorrow night's banquet before you go. Your Majesty praised you for using the academy as an excuse. There was a wonderful disaster in the East Camp. He also said that he respected the heart that you want to play." Jin Xiuhui only understood this. "Originally, I didn't jump out of the palm of the queen's sister at all." Uncle Hart finished conveying the queen's will. Then he turned around and walked away without stopping. Jin Xiuhui asked Haver, "Don't you feel that uncle approaching me?" Haver shook his head and said, "Not at all. That was the kingdom's first sword, St. Carl Ching. Discrimination against me at this level. The hidden breath event is a breeze." The two had no interest in continuing to watch the play. Shortly afterwards returned to the VIP dormitory. Julian asked Jin Xiuhui curiously, "But you knew it was going to happen." "At that time, I would have beaten Brother Dai. It's natural to say that it's almost the same. And so on after the completion of the construction project. Sister Queen will definitely reward me. At that time, I said that I wanted him to go to the academy, plus the evidence I gathered with Haver. He would have agreed." Stinky Boy Julian said happily about this. "You don't have to call me a stinky boy again, because my brother is now to me. He is more trustworthy than anyone else. Ren and the proud older brother. Suddenly from the approval of his own brother. Let Jin Xiuhui be very different. The system prompts suddenly. Julian, think of the hero who stares at saving the family from crisis. He untied the knot. Julian's opinion of you has risen by 65 points. Reward you with 910.2 horses. It currently holds 3,929.2 horses. After the confession of love from the younger brother to the elder brother, the room entered a brief silence. People are confessed at the same time. Goosebumps of embarrassment. The next day the prince gave a grand dinner. The queen holds a wine glass. Order King Lloyd to come over. Jin Xiuhui didn't expect that he was hiding in the corner, was still caught by the queen's sister. The queen looked at him with contempt and said, in such a noble atmosphere. Suddenly a lump of appeared. Do you think you can hide it? Haver behind him suddenly said politely. I was amazed by His Majesty's insight. Jin Xiuhui secretly hated this rebellion. Haver was refreshed. Finally someone said what he had been wanting to say. The queen continued to order. Didn't you hear me tell you to come closer? Jin Xiuhui humbly said that the villain was sorry. Then I came a little closer, and then came a little closer. Advance a little more, go in a little more, go a little more. At this point, you can already smell the sweet virgin direction. The lips of the beautiful woman are close at hand. Jin Xiuhui left the bag. Not a man. Is there anything bigger than this? Queen. Seductive lips close to the refined ear. The sweet body temperature is well trimmed with the provocative breathing. The smell of the pants runs down the earlobe, swept all the way through her sensitive neck. The queen said softly and easily, if you change your mind. You can come to me at any time. I will have everything ready for you. This banquet is for you. Enjoy. This is Jin Xiuhui's life. It's the first time I've been so close to a beautiful woman. The departure of the queen's sister left him very disappointed. But hear the promise of the queen's sister. It made him feel like he had been beaten again. Jin Xiuhui is like a treasure. I'm so happy. Isn't this pension insurance? If there is a situation in the territory in the future, I can come and work for my sister at any time. Next, get the project money to pay off the debt. The rest of the day is good to play. Suddenly, he thought of the scene in the novel. According to the plot, the queen's sister for 3 years. After that, it will turn black into a tyrant. None of this will be counted then. At this moment, Karking's voice came from behind him. The banquet will continue until the moon goes down and dawn. This line of splendid heroism. This is the queen's sister being poisoned. When you lose an arm. The secret code of the assassin. This line should have appeared 3 years later. Why is it appearing now? And it came out of the mouth of Carlsing. The commentary in the next episode is even more exciting. Don't forget to check it out. This man is so shameless. Bai Fume had just politely asked him to stay. He rejected the suggestion. Then he followed Bai Fume back to the room. In the shocked eyes of the beauty. Shut back the screams and overbearing. The queen left the banquet hall alone and returned to the lounge. Tired and leaning back on the sofa. I didn't drink a lot of alcohol today and felt dizzy. He guessed that it was because he was too tired these days. It is necessary to deal with trivial matters in the country. It is also necessary to guard against the movements of the enemy country of Asfahan. The queen wondered. Samarkand is in Asfahan. Build up forces in the west. The spies send indices. It doesn't seem to be a preparation for military training. Aggression is also impossible, because they didn't have their troops. Assembled to the north adjacent to Botu, and now where the forces are gathered. It needs to be across a vast wilderness, in order to attack Masantamo. But that would be tantamount to looking for death. At this time, the queen suddenly felt a splitting headache. This made him feel very strange as a sword master. This bit of alcohol shouldn't have such an impact. Then the rate of his heartbeat dragged out of his control, and breathing is getting harder and harder. He began to neutralize the alcohol in his body with his magic powers. But a sharp pain in his heart interrupted him. The queen understood that she had been poisoned, but he couldn't figure out where he was poisoned. The queen encouraged, support the crumbling body and walk outward. She called out to the attendants outside, but the voice was as soft as when nah. The poison was violent. As a sword master, her consciousness began to blur. At this moment, the door to the room was pushed open. A tall figure appeared in the doorway.